Am I the asshole for telling my son's teacher to reconsider her role as an educator? I just want to preface this by saying that I, M42, appreciate the work of educators. This isn't intended to be a shot at them. My son, 13M, is a good kid who follows the rules, does his homework, and generally does well in school. He is also very pragmatic and doesn't take kindly to authority figures who try to shame or bully him. So on to the incident at hand. About a month ago, my son was assigned a project in one of his classes. The assignment was to interview 3 people in different professions and discuss the commonalities they share and the differences between the various jobs. It was an assignment I thought was a great opportunity for my son to explore his talents and options for his future. My son interviewed 3 people for his project: our garbage collector, our neighbor who works in finance, and his aunt who does business consulting. My son then crafted a report about his project, noting the differences and similarities between the 3 professions. However, when my son presented his project to his class, the teacher made some inappropriate remarks about his choice of interviewees, saying that a trash collector is not an appropriate profession to compare against finance and business consulting. "Do you want to end up as a trash collector?" she asked my son. Of course, this embarrassed him and made his class laugh. I was not pleased. So I set up a meeting with the principal and the teacher and I told her exactly how I felt. I told her that my son should have the freedom to explore whatever avenues he wants to explore. The principal said she understood, but education and trash collection do not exactly go hand in hand. The teacher just smiled in a "we both know I'm right" kind of way. I lost it, telling her that she needs to create a more open and accepting environment for students and that if she wants to make her school a better place she needs to stop shunning certain careers. Here's where I may have gone wrong. I told the teacher that she needs to reconsider her role as an educator if she is going to think so narrow-mindedly. I know it's not my place to tell an educator to reconsider her role. At the same time though, I don't think it's right for a teacher to discourage a student from exploring their own potential roles in life. So am I the asshole? I want my son to be successful and happy, but was this remark about the teacher going too far? Not the asshole. Not every profession is a white-collar one. Indeed, this project makes for a fascinating sociological study. Tell this teacher it's no wonder that she ended up teaching middle school and not college and see how she likes that. Don't just think about the remarks as they resonated to your son. Think about the other 20-30 students with 30-40 other parents from all sorts of different workforce backgrounds who had to hear that hurtful ignorance. You were dead on the money when you said she should reconsider her field of work. Not the asshole. Trash collectors in my area can make upwards of $100,000 plus benefits. A teacher in my area makes about $50,000 plus benefits. I would have pointed that out when she mocked that profession. Not the asshole. I wonder what she would do if no one ever collected her garbage ever again. Am I the asshole for refusing to change how my family does inheritance? My family has a tradition involving inheritance. Children receive sentimental items and a token cash amount, and grandchildren get a trust set up for their future. It works for our family and has for a few generations now. My brother blew his trust during the dot-com bubble, but his kids still have money for university and to get a start on life. It is a way to keep one generation from messing everything up. I am doing my will and my daughter has approached me about her inheritance. She informed me that she was going to be child-free. I respect her decision. She thinks that the earth is overpopulated and does not want to contribute. I told her that her inheritance from myself would be some souvenirs from her childhood trips and about $5,000. She said that she knew that each of her brother's children was receiving substantially more than that in their trust. I said that she had received her trust from her grandmother and that was how it worked. She thinks it is unfair that her decision will lead to her getting less money. She refuses to understand that even if she had 10 children she would not be getting any more than what she is already getting. She called the family tradition ridiculous and patriarchal, which is odd because as stated her trust came from her grandmother. She thinks I'm an asshole for not changing how things are done. I told her that our family has been doing this for a long time and it works. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. Even if her hypothetical kids get an inheritance, it's not her money, she won't be getting more or less out of it. Same with your grandchildren, the money they receive doesn't belong to your son. She is essentially trying to double dip by saying she won't have kids and therefore should get more. Not the asshole. That is a matter for you and your partner only. Your children should be thankful for getting anything in the first place when they are really entitled to nothing. Not the asshole. You are not depriving her of anything. She is getting the exact same thing either way. Can I ask if the trusts cover adopted children and stepkids? Not the asshole, one bit. Your money, your choice. She is getting what 100% she is entitled to, nothing less. Even if her children were to get money, she wouldn't get any of it. She's absolutely entitled. Am I the asshole for saying no when my former roommate demanded board in my house? I, 24F, live in an apartment in NYC. I used to have another girl, 23F, living with me, until a few months ago I decided to get my own apartment, and she chose to move in with her boyfriend. She's in school. I'm in a professional degree program and have been preparing for the next semester. She appeared at my door suddenly one evening, interrupting my studying. So I had to stop and go answer the door. She was just standing there, looking unkempt with crazy eyes. Before I could ask why she was at my home uninvited at this hour, just rushed inside like she owned the place. She began telling me her story of woe. How her boyfriend was being verbally abusive, and she had to get out of there. She hasn't bothered to plan ahead. He had thrown her out of the apartment, and she needed to fly home to her parents, but her flight was delayed, so she was asking to spend the night with me. I resisted the urge to roll my eyes. She was never a bright one when we were living together, and she was always dating this guy who she could never get along with. It's just like her to get emotional because she couldn't handle confrontation, and be short-sighted running away without a plan instead of addressing things. So once her flight got cancelled and she couldn't flee home, she still lives with her parents for a good part of the year despite our age. She decided to become a burden on me instead. I asked what she's doing here. I'm not her mother or responsible for her. She said she just needs a place to spend the night and began listing her problems. I said not to start with that, save her venting for therapy, and asked what makes her think she's entitled to come into my home. She said since we lived together she thought she could ask me. I said she lives with her boyfriend, so go home to him. She said she can't because it's his apartment. And whose fault is that, I wondered. She's a grown adult and isn't contributing to rent. Sounds like he's right to throw her out. She said she does contribute what she can. Again, sounds like poor decision-making. Then she began to literally wail. Like a toddler. I had had it with her, and I said if she was going to act like a victim to leave because I don't deal with victims. Either grow a backbone and go back to deal with her boyfriend or find a motel. She claimed they were all booked out, but I felt my generosity was being taken advantage of at that point, and I was done entertaining her. I asked her to please leave the property. She protested, and I couldn't believe the entitlement. I pointed out that she was now trespassing. So she reluctantly left. I was bone tired from dealing with her drama and went to bed, not even getting my scheduled studying done. In the morning I was awakened by an angry message from her about my mistreatment of her. I pointed out that if you're being mistreated by your boyfriend, by me, etc., the common denominator is you. Am I the asshole? It's your home. You're not an asshole for not wanting an unexpected uninvited guest. But sorry to say this, you sound like a pretty unkind, unpleasant, judgmental sort of person. She was asking for one night on a couch or whatever until her plane, not to move in. It was very late at night, since you described the hour as being an anti-social one. I think I'd probably do that for most friends or people I had a long-standing relationship with, like former flatmates or coworkers, unless I had a reason to think they were dishonest, awful. Info: do you have something against her in particular? Was she a bad flatmate, person? Or would you just not extend that sort of kindness as a rule? Am I the asshole for wanting to stay in the same room as my wife? We went over to my 36F, wife's 33F, side of the family for Christmas this year. Our family includes us and our 2 kids, 4 male and 6 female. Usually, we spend the holidays either at home or we travel. Mostly because my in-laws don't really like me. Everything was kind of okay during the day and over dinner. There were some snarky comments and bitter words, but nothing out of proportion to what I expected from them. Late at night when we wanted to go to sleep, my mill told me she had made the same arrangement as when I visited them before for Christmas. That was over 8 years ago and I was my wife's girlfriend back then. I said I imagined the accommodation would change to us both staying the night in the same room. My brother-in-law and Sil share a room with their spouse. Mill said she thought it would be more appropriate this way. I told my wife and she said it was outrageous. Especially because we were going to be there for one night only and we would leave in the morning. I said it was too disrespectful on my in-laws' behalf and that I wasn't going to stay there. My wife agreed. I arranged for us to stay in a hotel room for the night and we left, despite Mil's protests. In the morning, Phil called and told me I was being selfish and petty and preventing them from seeing their daughter and grandchildren. Brother-in-law texted something similar. Accused me not wanting to stay in their parents' home because it wasn't like mansions we live in and called me entitled for overreacting. I'm wondering, was I wrong to leave in the middle of the night? Let's see. 1. You're married with 2 kids. 2. The house has 5 rooms, and 3. All the heterosexual couples share a room. Not the asshole. Don't coddle bigots. Not the asshole. Your in-laws are homophobes. By you leaving, they were forced to confront their own bad behavior. But it's easier to blame you than to admit that they're in the wrong. Not the asshole. This is very clearly about their female daughter sharing a room with her female wife. I see no other reason to set things up like this. Especially when you were told it was appropriate, if that's the case, brother-in-law and Sil and sleep separately from their SOs too. I see nothing wrong with what you did. You were disrespected, you didn't like it. Instead of arguing, you pack up your stuff and left. Not the asshole. Keep your kids away from that homophobic toxicity. Kids are smart and pick up more than some people realize. They will know their grandparents treat your marriage differently.